Hey everybody! Today I am going to show you the 3 ways that I use alfalfa pellets to fertilize my garden. And I'm going to give you some reasons why I use it, so stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Let me give you a closer look at what I got going here. And then I will explain to you what all of this is and what I'm gonna do with it. Welcome to my channel, Saving Greens Homestead. My name is Keisha. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I welcome you. Today, I decided to bring you along with me and show you the 3 different ways that I fertilize using alfalfa pellets. I am so sorry about my chickens in the background. I fed them, I've done everything, and they still are screaming at me. Anyways, I really should say my 3.5 ways of how I use these, because one way I use, for one of the ways, I use 2 different methods, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But so for starters, I wanted to show you guys because I need to fertilize my tomato seedlings, and I need to finish fertilizing my trees, and I'm going to be using these big buckets here to put in, mix some soil so that I can grow some tomatoes and stuff in these. So I just wanted to show you what I do, and maybe it's something that you can utilize in your garden. Maybe it's something you didn't know you could use in your garden, but it's all natural. All it is alfalfa pellets, and these pellets are the ones that they use to feed the horses. I'm thinking you can use like the alfalfa meal that they use for to feed rabbits and stuff too. I think it's all the same, but I have heard from some people that the rabbit feed one has a lot of salt in it. I don't know how true that is because I don't have rabbits and I haven't used that particular one. I always get this one that you use for horses, and so I'm going to show you what I do with these. So the first thing that I want to show you is how I use these to mix up in my soil, and you got to bear with me because I got a lot going on right here. I'm going to show you this one first, how I prepare it, because I need to use some of this water out of here so I can show you the next one. So what I do is now I have this on a smaller scale because this is just for your benefit so I can show you what I do. But I will show you the bigger bucket that I've done this in, and I'll show you what the results would be. So I usually do like a ratio of 50% pellets, 50% water, okay? And what I do is I take it and I add the water directly to the pellets. And in doing this, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see. In doing it this way, I let it sit overnight or for a few days, however long, as long as it's enough time for it to break down. And what you end up with is a mush like this, where the pellets already broke apart and disintegrated, and I just put that in my soil. So right here I just have a bowl of soil, and I just break these up and add them to this soil, mix it all in, and I don't do a whole lot for each one. Basically, you see, it's just mixed in. And with doing this, it starts to break down a lot quicker and feed the soil a lot quicker. Now, why is it that I use alfalfa pellets? Well, from everything that I've researched and read and other videos that I've watched of people that use these, like Gary at the Rustic Garden. You guys know who I'm talking about. He's very popular on YouTube. He uses this. And then there's a guy in Canada that I've watched his video, and I can't think of the name of his YouTube channel. I will put it on the screen though, so that you can go and check out his. And there's several other popular YouTubers that, you know, they talk about these, and so it piqued my interest, and I decided to experiment with it last year and do some things with it, and it actually turned out really good. So this is what I'm using, and it's very inexpensive. That in the opening part of this video, that large 80-pound bag, I got that for what was it? I think it was $19 for that big bag. So it's very inexpensive, and it stretches a long way. So you don't use that whole bag unless you have a lot of space to cover. So anyways, alfalfa pellets are high in nitrogen, which is what makes it so good. These were pressed and dried in the sun. So that's all it is alfalfa grass or hay that they chopped up and pressed down and dried out. And so if you get it organic, I mean, I guess that's good too, but you know, I don't necessarily buy labels that say organic, only because I feel like, you know, it's just a lot of unnecessary for me. I don't try and garden organically as they try and advertise or market. I do try and do everything natural. I try and feed my plants and my garden, my trees, naturally, as natural as possible, with as little chemicals as possible. So to me, that's organic. But I know there's going to be some people that are going to say, you know, no, it has to be this specific thing in order for it to be organic. But I look at all this stuff and I'm like, this is all organic matter. And if I'm chopping it up and using it and putting it back into my soil, that to me is organic. So this is high in nitrogen. It actually, nitrogen helps your plants to grow. It helps with their leaf growth and with their root growth. So that's why I use this. It's a good way to fertilize and save me money too. So way number 2 that I use it is I make a tea with it. Now I watched a video, and if I can find that video, I will put the name of the YouTuber that I watched where I learned about this method of, there was 2 actually, of making a tea out of it, and then using this tea to feed my house plants, even my seedlings and everything. So, or even in my garden, just as a pick-me-up, you know, mixed in with some water, and just to refresh my plants and give them a little drink of something good. So and the way that I do this is I just get a strainer. Let me shuffle some stuff around here. I get a strainer and I put it over a container that I can use to pour. And so I'll just pour this in. Now the ratio I use for the tea is I usually fill in 50% water to 50% the tea. Now how I made this tea, and I'll show you that in a second, how I did this and what I used. Let me try and not make a mess. If you guys watch my Foodie Fridays and stuff, you know I am prone to making messes. So that's why I'm doing this outside and not inside. Okay, so I just need to add a little bit more to that. Okay. And then I'll take this and use this to pour into my tomato plants, and I'll show you when I'm doing that. So what I usually do for this one is I'll take about a handful of alfalfa pellets and pop them down into a gallon jug. Whatever you have to use, you can use a 5-gallon bucket. If you use a 5-gallon bucket, I'd say just use enough of these alfalfa pellets to fill the bottom of the bucket, just like one layer on the bottom of the bucket. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but you don't need much. And then I would fill the rest with water, and then just let it sit. And let it sit. I let this, okay, so this one sat for longer than 3 days. I would say at least 3 days, because it gives it a chance to break down and actually work into it. Some people only let it sit like 1 day overnight, and I mean, that's up to you. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. And then after you use everything, you can just add more water to what you have left in the container, and then start a new batch that way. I've done that because, as you notice, I don't have anything really in the strainer that came through yet. That's all sitting at the bottom. So by the time I finish adding this and using it, I'm gonna be left with that mush at the bottom. So I just add more water and I leave it in there. Now there are times when I do pour it all the way out because it's spent, and what's in here, then I will add to my compost pile of what's left. So it's completely up to you. I do add that to my compost, or I'll throw it directly into one of my plant containers, and it's still good, and it would be a great contributor to your soil still, even though it's been used, because there's still traces of nitrogen and stuff left in it. It doesn't all just go into the tea part. So that's the second way. Okay, so now the third way that I use this is I make a really good super blend, and this is what I feed to my trees. So with this method, I have, you can see there's some alfalfa pellets in here. They're all throughout. I mixed them in here with some wood ashes and some super poop and some chicken poop. For those of you who don't know what I call super poop, that's aged manure that I get from a local rancher here close by me, and it's just amazing. It's a blend of like horse manure, cow, llama, goat, sheep, donkey, rabbit, you name it, and it's a mix. That's why I call it super poop. But you got to be careful when you get manures and stuff from people that have horses and cows and stuff, because sometimes the things that they feed their animals contain herbicides in them. It was sprayed and treated with herbicides. Herbicides, you do not want to get it in your garden. It does not compost out. With age, it sticks around, and when you use the manure, it has it in there, and it will wreak havoc in your garden. So you want to make sure you ask the person that you're receiving the manure from, make sure that of what they feed their animals, that they're not feeding them something that has been treated with herbicides. But anyways, you guys, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this. I put this around all my trees, and I've already done all my other trees, and I'll take you around and show you that, but I'm going to show you how I use this in my trees. Now, this is one way that you can use the whole dried alfalfa pellet. Another way is just as a top dress. I usually just take this, sprinkle it over the top. It doesn't need a lot. Sprinkle it over the top of my soil in my garden bed, and just like this. And it's a slow release method. Mixing it in with the dirt like how I did in this other bucket here, is also a slow release method. These are slow release. The putting the, and look at it's already starting to break apart and everything in here and expand. But doing it this way and making a mush is a little bit faster release. And then when I use it for the tea, that is already soluble and ready, instantly ready to feed my plants and stuff. So I'm gonna take you around and show you how I apply these things. I just wanted to show you the 3 different ways that these can be used. Okay, so first I'm gonna use the tea that I made, and I'm just gonna pour a little bit down in here in the bottom of this pan, and then when I go back through, I'll water some more on top of it. So it's a very light mixture, so that it doesn't really overpower my plants or give them too much too fast. And I don't do this every day. I only do this like once a week, so it's not something that I do all the time. And then in the garden, after I put these plants in the garden, I won't even do it once a week. I will only do it like once a month maybe. So I'll go back and I'll do the same thing, 50% water, 50% of that tea, and pour it all in the rest of these. And I have 2 jugs going so that I have enough to feed them all. This way they'll get the nutrients right away. Their roots can suck that up right away. Okay, so then the next method is this. Okay guys, so I went on ahead and put this container together for you so you can see. So I'm just gonna put this in here. Now, in one of the videos I watched concerning these alfalfa pellets, they did mention that in this form, without it sitting for days, it is can be more hot. When you mix it in your soil, it might be too potent or too hot. You could burn your plants. And I think there's some truth to that, because when I tried this with my strawberries struggled. And I think it was for that reason, because it was just too hot, too potent for them. So just be advised. You can see here I barely even put a dent in this bucket. And I've got 6 of these big blue ones that I'm going to be mixing this in. And then I'm going to let them sit. And I'm going to be planting tomatoes in here. So a little goes a long way with this. It really does. And I wanted to show you one more thing. Just since I started this video, making this video, and I poured the water in here, you see them swelling and puffing up, and the water's getting absorbed. So, and then you can watch it. If you didn't put enough water, you'll know, because it'll be really dried out. If you put too much water, then it'll really be sopping wet. So you can, just mess around with it, and you can figure out what amounts you can use to get the desired effect for yourself. So anyways, this is just how I do it. Like I always say, I'm not an expert. I'm just a person who Googles stuff or watches YouTube stuff. And then I experiment and I check it out for myself. I don't just take what people say. I actually experiment with it to see and gain some experience, so that when someone says, hey, you know, can I do this, can I do that, or what can I do? I could say, this is what I'm doing, and this is what's working for me, you know. So I always say experiment, you guys. Experiment, experiment, experiment. So I'm going to show you the last way that I'll use this. So as you can see here, I've applied this already to a lot of my fruiting trees that I have. Everybody gets a little bit. And my lemon here lost all its leaves because of we had a last little snap of cold weather. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. Those burgundy things that you see right there coming out, those are our new leaves. And so it just started to sprout new leaves again. And that's why I really wanted to get this fertilizer in there, so that it will be able to aid it in growing its leaves. And this orange, same thing. And it actually has some frost damage that I have to cut off. But same thing. The temps just got way too cold. And now this one is putting on a whole bunch of new leaves. So the nitrogen that is in the chicken poop, in the manure, that's also in the alfalfa pellets, is really helping with that. And then I also put some around my pomegranate tree here. People always wonder and ask me how my pomegranates are so big. Well, this is all I do. Every year, this is what I do. This is how I feed my trees. And then I also put some around my peach tree here. So I have photos. So what I do usually is I get some of the super poop, I put it in my wheelbarrow here, and I stop by my chicken coop and get some chicken poop out of there and put in. Now I put in about a half a wheelbarrow of the manure, the aged manure, and then I put in smaller, lesser amounts of everything else. The chicken poop is only a few shovelfuls of that, and then the wood ash is only a few shovelfuls of that. This year is the first year that I'm adding the alfalfa pellets. I usually do just the wood ash, the chicken poop, and the manure, composted manure. But this year I decided to incorporate the alfalfa pellets and see how well that works for my trees and not just in my garden. So, and I get that and I mix everything up, and this is what I'm left with. And you guys, I just bought this Arkansas black apple tree from my local nursery, and so I need to get him dressed out with this. So all I'm gonna do is just try one-handed to pour this in. And yes, I am touching it with my hands. The actual manure, composted manure, doesn't even have a smell to it. And that's it. Now this one is dressed, and I have some water sitting right here so I can water it in and show you guys. So all of this, anytime I feed my trees, I go ahead and I give them a good drink. The water helps to activate the wood ash, and it has biochar in it too. I failed to mention that. But it helps to activate the wood ash and biochar and the alfalfa pellets. So I give it a good, nice drink. And every time I water in my containers or any of my other trees, that then turns into like a tea, like what's in the like what I have sitting over here that I use. It turns into like a tea as the water drains through the soil and makes it soluble for the tree roots to be able to use. Okay, you guys, I finally got this bed cleaned out just so I can show this to you guys, and also so I can plant some stuff. But The last and final way is just as a top dressing, just pouring some of these out on top of the soil. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, a little goes a long way. So just that little bit that's in the cup, I spread that just right here. I'll go and get some more and finish sprinkling the rest of them down, but just like how this is right here, no thicker than that is necessary. And every time I water, especially when I put these seeds in here to get them growing, every time I water, that'll break down. Every time it rains, it'll break down. I have soaker hoses that I use in these beds, and whatever gets touched by that soaker hose water is gonna break down. So this is slow release method. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna plant my seeds and stuff in here. And last year I did this. I added these on top of the soil and top dressed it, and everything came up just fine because, like I said, it's slow release. Anyways, you guys, today is a hot day. I think we're in the 80s, the low 80s today, and it's a beautiful day, but it's just a hot day today. So I got a lot more stuff that I need to get done, but I just wanted to thank you for clicking on this video and watching this video. I hope that it helped answer some questions that you might have. If not, you can ask them in the comments and I'll try and answer as best I can. But I hope it's inspired you to try something new, to experiment, to you know, just get out and enjoy your garden and enjoy finding things that work well for it. I appreciate you. I will put links in the description below for videos that I've already made using alfalfa pellets. Hopefully you'll follow along with me in this journey and get an idea for what it can do by watching what it does in my garden. You guys, thank you so much again for watching, and as always, God bless.